Hello, good day, and welcome to our CompTIA A Plus training, lesson 17, managing security settings. So, if you are just joining us for the very first time, you're just seeing our videos, I, I encourage you to subscribe to the station so that you can continue to receive videos from us and trainings. So, our trainings involve so many areas in the IT. Like this is A plus. We're going to do training on networking as well. Then we move to Linux training, cybersecurity, and on and on. So I encourage you to subscribe with us. Then if you also been following our videos, our trainings, I want to say congratulations. So far, you are now in lesson 17. Well done, and in next 3 lessons we're going to round up CompTIA A plus. Then we move to some practicals, demonstration, and also networking too. Okay, so let's start. Lesson 17, managing security settings. Our objectives for these lessons is configure. Our objective of the lessons are we're going to look at how we can configure Windows workstation security, then as well how we can configure browser security, then troubleshoot workstations and security issues. Those are going to be our objectives. Okay, so we're going to start with 17A. So configuring workstation security. Okay, here we go. So the basic things in Windows security is about the password requirements. That's the basic thing. So agree with me that it's very essential for us to have a password that is highly secured in our system, right? Okay, so first of all, let's look at the most important requirement in password. So it's called the password complexity requirement, right? That includes the length of the password and the character types. Now we'll talk about passwords complexity. Now, we are talking about a situation where the password is not just letters only, neither is it just numbers, right? Okay, so we're saying the password has to be combination of numbers, letters, symbols, and letters must have character types like small letter, capital letter. So it's essential for us to be able to differentiate what a normal password is and a complex password is. Now, one thing we need to understand is that the password itself, to set it up, we must be able to implement it in a console we call the group policy editor. So the group policy, like in our previous video, we've explained about group policy. So that's why it's very important for you to be able to go through our previous videos, then look at everything we've talked about, from lesson 1 up to where we are now. So we've explained so many things. So yeah, we're not going to tell you what group policy is. We're not going to be doing that. Let's just go to our previous video. You can see what we said about group policies, right? Excellent, good. Now, so in your group policy, every computer has a group policy. So in a local computer, a group policy is a policy that addresses what that computer system, right? Good. So we call it, in that computer, we call it the local group policy editor. So that's the console for it. Now, when you go to a domain environment, a network environment, where you have a network and a domain, right? Now, what you're going to see there is called group policy. So that group policy regulates everything that had to do with what? The entire network environment. Now, as we take a look here now, for us to be able to do that, so we have to go to the account security settings on that group policy. Then we'll go to what? Account policies. Then on account policy, you see what? Your password policy. So you take a look now on the password policy, you see different policies there. So these are what tells the computer what to do. This computer, how the computer work, the regulations, what regulate the computer, So it means that the computer is defined in this manner to operate in this manner. That's what policy is. So now the most important thing there, I'll pick two things is what the length and the character, the password length. So the password length means that how many characters can your password take. Now, most of the times, previous Windows environment, they usually 8 characters, so that in the policy state 8 characters. So but you can break the policies and make it 2 characters, 3 characters, and on. Now, in terms of security, back then it's 8 characters, but now, industries they are moving at anything beyond 12 characters and above. Why? Because security. Because why? Attackers they find a way to break these things, to break all the security. So you say 8 characters, you look for software that can be able to break and predict 8 characters. So now they've moved on to what security personnel. They look at, okay, probably let's use 12 characters. So they're looking at 12 characters now. So that means that in those 12 characters, you must have a password that gets to that level. Now, when you set character type, when we talk about character, the character types means that you must have upper letter, small letter, capital letter, small letter, symbols, and numbers all comes together to form what the character types. So if you are saying you are creating a policy for a password, and we say let the policy be 15 characters. So for instance, we want to use name of a person. So that name of a person must be numbers, right? Small letters, right? Symbols, combination. So all the results will now eventually form what your 12 characters for that password. Then we also have the expiration requirement too. Expiration requirement. So you can create when the password can expire, right? Now, for security reasons, it's always best to not create a long password, right? You can create a password for 2 weeks, 1 month, it's okay, right? Because why? Now, if mistakenly an authorized person got your password, right? It means that they're going to use your password to perform havoc on your system. So the reason why you're going to create password requirements, is ensure that even if an intruder, an attacker, an authorized person get access to your password, after a certain time, they can only work within a limited period of time. So after a certain time, the password is already changed. So it's very important, right? They also have the basic input and output systems, which called BIOS. So now we can call it Unified Extensible Framework Interface, UEFI. So now the BIOS is actually the operating system. I call it the operating system before the operating system. Why? Because the hardware itself, the hardware you're using, the hardware has its own basic input and output system, right? So that means everything that comes in and goes out, they are regulated in the motherboard. So how do you go to manage those things? How do you ensure all those hardwares work effectively? Now, the only way to ensure it effectively is to go to BIOS, which is also the operating system, right? So it's the firmware for the hardware. So you go to BIOS. So when you get to BIOS, you can see every hardware that work, all the components in the motherboard, all of them, the CPU, the memory, the hard drive, just name them, how the system operates, the booting system, everything, right? The clock speed of the processor, everything, they are all in the BIOS. So there you cannot set it up. You can set it up how the computer is going to work. Now, whatever you've done on the BIOS affects the way the system is going to operate when the system gets to desktop environment. That's why the BIOS is very essential. So now, another thing, that we need to understand is that putting a password in the BIOS helps to provide a term of security in the password. Because if you put a BIOS on the password, nobody can go there and change the settings in the BIOS setup. So that's why you see here password. So how do you gain access to BIOS? It's easy. So it depends on whatever system they are using, whatever motherboard, if you're using a laptop, whatever brand they're using. So in some systems F2, some is F5, some is delete key, some is F10. So that means when system starts up, you hit that's key. You hit the key. So the moment you just put on the system, just hit the key. So how do you know the key? If you don't know, you can go to Google. Just ask Google, I'm using this kind of laptop. How do I get to, or I'm using the brand of computer, this kind of system. How do I get to BIOS? So Google is going to tell you. Then go to BIOS. So why do you put the password? So that no unauthorized person cannot go to your BIOS and change settings there. So we also have end user best practices. Now, end user are just we the users of the system are called end users. So how do you ensure the system is secured? Right? Now, one of the things you want to be able to ensure that whenever you're not on decks, you log off the system. Very important. You could use a screensaver, screen lock. Those are ways to secure the system. You also log off. You understand? So also you can look at the critical hardware too, the hardware systems. So you can have a lock on your hardware. You can chain your hardware, right? So you care for the computer hardware. You protect them in a way that they cannot be mobilized. They cannot be carried away, right? By putting a lock on them. Then we also have what we call how do you secure your PII? I'm talking about your personal identifiable password. How do you secure them? Now, let's understand that the PII, which is called the personally identified information, is everything about that has to do with you, how to identify you, everything, your name, your password, your security information, your NII, your NIN, your NIN. So everything has to do with you, your personal to way to identify you, everything. So you also need to secure them too. It's very important, right? Good. Then when you're looking at documents, when you have your personal information, your PII, ensure that you want to secure them. Don't secure them in an encrypted document. So each time you have a password, right? You have a password. You have a password, and you need to copy them from one place to the other. What you need to do, encrypt them. Encrypt them, because if you don't encrypt all those, your PII, you don't encrypt them in the document, somewhere along the line, someone can manage to have access to your system and they can copy those files. So when they copy it, they can take it elsewhere and look at all your PII. So which is why you must be able to ensure that your systems are encrypted, your passwords are encrypted. So save your documents. You can save your PII in a file, or in a document. Now, the moment you do that, ensure it's encrypted so that unauthorized access cannot be able to, unauthorized persons cannot get access to those documents and gain access to your PII. Account management too. So we understand that, there are users who have privileges to do so much on the computer system. For instance, now in Windows, we call it administrative privileges. In Linux, we call it sudo. So in Windows environment, the most powerful account is called the administrator account, right? That means the administrator account has the power to do everything: install program, change permission, copy files, do so much. So that is an unrestricted privilege, right? Now in Linux environment, the privilege there is called sudo. So a sudo account is the most powerful, privilege in Linux environment. So just like Windows, someone that belongs to the sudo group can do exactly the same thing an administrator in Windows could do, right? So it's very important that we understand these rights and privileges and we secure them, right? Secure your sudo account, sudo privilege. So ensure that a user is not giving a privilege they are not meant to have. Very important, right? So you must check out for users. They are not giving excessive privilege. They are giving the minimum privilege to do a job. Then also default administrator password. So you must ensure that in every system you are using, for instance, you get a router, a device, a solution, a software to meet a problem, a solution, a service, whatever you have. So when the software have a default administration user account and password, usually from the manufacturer, the first thing to do is to change them. Very important. Change those default password. Change them, because why? Those default password, they are available on the internet, on the public space. So you must be able to change them. Right? Then again, avoid shared account. Don't share account, this privileged account, don't share them with anyone. Then always disabled guest account. Always do that. Right? Of course, you need to enable guest account for reasons like, for instance, now you don't want somebody to, if you have a personal system, you don't want somebody to come and be using your personal system, right? Then you can create a guest account. So when you create a guest account, ensure that what? Ensure that you don't have excessive privilege in a guest account. So you monitor the guest account and ensure that whatever privilege you have is to do limited resources. But mind you, the guest account by default have limited privileges. So you can leave it like that. You can go there and even reduce the privilege further. Account policies, right? So the account itself, here we have the password policy, has their own policies, right? For instance, we talk about restrict login times, failed attempt logout, concurrent logins, use time and screen lock, right? All these are policies in our account system. For instance, login hours means that you want to restrict the numbers of time the user uses the system. If you want the user to only work on the system between 2 p.m. right to 4 p.m., then you create a login hours and you put the 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. So that's when the user can work on the system. Failed attempt logon, you have to enable that. Now, why do you enable that? For auditing purpose, so that you can trace who is trying to log into the system. So the fake account logout time will be recorded in the event log, in the security log of the event viewer. So if you want to troubleshoot your system, you can go see who is trying to get access to your system. Then we have concurrent logins. Concurrent logins means that how many users are logging at the present at that particular time. How many users are logging? Now it could be that a user have one account, right? So for instance now, my name is Biola, for instance. My name is Biola, right? Then in CompTIA A, I log in as Biola, right, to the network, right? So let's assume you're in a network environment now, right? So I log in as Biola in network environment, Then while still logging, I go to another computer and log in again. Those are concurrent logins happening simultaneously. So what are we saying? We're saying that you must be able to prevent that. If your light is fine, then you must be able to monitor it. Alright? Very important. Then also, we look at enabling account, re-enabling account. So most of the times when the user leave a organization, we have to go and disable the staff. For instance, staff resign from the company and is leaving. So the first thing the administrator do is to go and disable the account of that staff that is leaving. So that's the first thing to do. You understand? So you're going to disable the account, So when you disable the account, when you want to enable it on again, probably to reset the account to a new user. So they will enable the account and ensure that the password and everything has been changed on the account. Right? Then resetting password. So of course, to reset password means that you want a new set of password. So then you go and do a reset password. The user cannot create a new set of password. Okay. So execution control is all about restricting the user access to install malicious code. So if you buy execution control, it's all about you are trying to prevent an untrusted software from running your system. So that is what it's all about, right? So you can get from a user account control, where you can restrict. You don't want unwanted application. You want to be prompted. For instance, now it's possible that you can go to the internet, and mistakenly you open an a web page on the internet that contains malicious code, and somewhere along the line, the malicious code is downloaded to your system, right? Now, some of this code, they are made to run automatically. Depends on how, how the payload is. When I mean talk about payload, I'm talking about code that are written to run. So depending on how the code payload, there's some malicious code you install that you download it. When you download it on the system, instantly you start installing by themselves without even you doing that. Right? Now, what we are saying is that the execution control will stop that from happening. So when you have a malicious code downloaded to your system, now before the malicious code is installed, there will be a prompt to tell you that this thing want to be installed. You will see it, then you cannot be able to, okay, I want to allow it or I don't want to allow it. Right? Take for instance now, I'm going to look at, let's go to control panel for instance. So let's go to control panel and go to security settings. So here we are, this control panel for instance now. Okay, here we go. Now let's go to system and security, right? Here we go, this system and securities. Okay, so we're going to look for, good, look at it, user account control settings. Let's go there and see. Yes, we want to see what's going on there. Good. Now take a look now. In this place now, all right, this is the user account control settings, which is called the executive control, right? Now take a look, always notify. So here now, we are the highest level of security here. It means that always notify me when application try to install software or make changes to my computer. See? So it always notify you. So really, security settings here, it said that each time an application start to install, notify me first. I move it down a little bit. Now see, I move it to this bar. Notify me only when application try to make changes to my computer by default. So this one are only. So it's going to notify you. Right? Okay, let's come here now. See, notify me only when application try to make changes to my computer. Do not dim my desktop. Then finally, this is the less secure. This one no notification. Never notify me. Right? Never. So application try to install software, missing my computer. If you put it here, any application can be installed. Anything, malicious code will just be installing. So put it at the highest level. Each time application trying to go in, install a malicious code or whatever, you will be notified about that. Always notify me about that. Right? Okay, so that's that. Let's go back. Okay, that's fine. So we're going to continue. So here we are now. Good. So code signing. So code signing, hash verification. So a way to verify, right, an application is okay. Now look at hash verification now, right? So in hash verification, is one of the security that we use. One of the security measures that we take when we talk about data on transit, right? Now, if for instance now you work on a particular application, a particular file, for instance, and you're meant to send the application through the email, maybe to your boss or someone else, right? Now, it's possible that along the line, that application can be intercepted by the way, right? We have what we call the man-in-the-middle attack. It can intercept it. So once that file is intercepted along the way, somebody can have access to that document, that file, right? And they can change the file. You have and change it. So you end up receiving a document that has been tampered with. Do you understand that? For instance now, in the file, in the document, you have written some certain statements. Okay, fine. Transfer 50 million naira to this account. Then somewhere along the line, somewhere along the emails on transit, is being intercepted on the way. So when it's intercepted, the attacker goes in and change the figure. Instead of 50 million, he said 150 million. And instead, change the account to another account number. And when you get the information, you see it, oh, this is what they want. Okay, fine. For my boss, right? You just send the money. A lot of people this is what you hear about money stolen from the bank and user people complain about that money, being defrauded. These are some of the ways that people have been defrauded. Do you understand that? So these are some of the ways people have been defrauded. So what do you do? What do you do when you have something like this now? When you have something like this, right, you need to do what we call hash verification. So high verification means that when you create the file, that document, as you save it, you use an hash on it. So the hash you have, right? The hash you have, you must ensure that the user, person you are sending the document to, will also use that same hash, right? To hash that document to find that. So when they hash the document and they find that, the hash key the same, then you know that the file has not been tampered with. But once the hash key has been changed, you know that it's been tampered with. Don't worry, we're going to do all this thing practically. Like I said, stick to our video, stick to our station. We're going to do Linux. In Linux, we're going to explain so many things in Linux. Right? Okay. So app stores, now, every application you use, Microsoft, Android devices and on, Apple, make sure that every application you install, you are installing from that store. It can block application list too. So if you feel that there's some application you don't want to be running your system, block them. Now, Windows has its own app store. It's called Microsoft Store. So if you go there, most of the application you install, you can install it from Microsoft Store. So go there, type whatever application you want to install. Alright, you can go there. So take a look now, Microsoft Store. So this is it now. I'm going to look at Microsoft Store. So let's go back. Let's see. There's it, Microsoft Store. So in Microsoft Store, you can see, you can install several applications. So instead of going to download the application, right? So whatever application you want to download, if I want to download Word, I can go there and type Word, for instance, right? So you see, so whatever you want to download, try Microsoft Store first. If you want to download games, try see games. There are free games. So many things you could download in Microsoft Store. So it's very important that we install applications. If you want WhatsApp is also there. Most of the things you do, you can get them in App Store than going to download, because when you download that time, you can download malicious code. Anyway, this is not a cybersecurity class. This is A+, so I'm not going to go deep. Alright? Okay, so here we go now. Windows Defender Antivirus. So Windows Defender Antivirus, they are built into Windows, right? So these are when you get Windows, they come along with Windows. They are built in. So if it's not there, you can try App Store to see if you can download from Windows App Store. So when you get Windows, original Windows, I'm not talking about pirated Windows that you downloaded somewhere. I'm talking about real Windows. If you get a Windows system, Windows Defender is a built-in. You understand? It's built into the system, and they can be able to check files. They can check your system everywhere for files, and stuff like that. Where there's virus, you can do automatic scanning, to check the entire system and stuff like that, right? So it's always running on the background. You can disable it if you want to use it, If you want to replace the third Windows party, if you want to replace it with the third-party product, fine, you can go there. You can stop it and install a third-party product. So third-party means that is a Windows antivirus, is a non-Windows antivirus. So it's not owned by Windows. It's owned by another company entirely. There's no Windows. There's no Microsoft. That's what it means. All right. So firewall too. So the same thing. Your firewall. So in Windows firewall, you can set rules by yourself. So inbound rules, you can create rules that will come in and rules that can go out. So you can do all these things. You can block a service, block an application, and all like that. Right? Okay. So here we go. File encryption. So file encryption, very important. So it talk about data at rest, then of course data in transit. So data at rest usually are the data that you stored on, that is located on your hard drive. Your hard drive, your computer, your external hard drive, all those drives that you just saved there, they're not being used at that point in time. It's called data at rest. So you can do a full disk encryption. So now we'll look at something called BitLocker. So BitLocker, you can see you can turn it on your system to encrypt your drive. So why do you encrypt it? You encrypt it in case somebody managed to have access to that hard drive. They can't use the hard drive. They cannot use, because why? The drive is encrypted. So the BitLocker, you can be able to encrypt. And when you encrypt a hard drive, ensure you have all the decryption key, the key to decrypt it. We can call it recovering key, whatever, to be able to decrypt it. So it's very important. When you decrypt a hard drive, there's where you can get the key, decryption key. Alright? So it's going to be top from that day. How you can get decryption key, you can get and store it in a safer place for you. Store it, and even wherever you're going to store it, hash it again on top. Put an hash on it so that it's difficult for somebody to change whatever is there. So you encrypt it and you hash it. So that's going to do proper encryption. So encryption of file is straightforward, right? So encrypting means you want to change the appearance of the file. So you encrypt it, so everything's going to change. So you change the appearance. So when somebody have access to the file, they're going to see different thing entirely. They will see different thing. They will know how to use it. That's encryption. Okay. So let's look at browser security. How do you configure browser security? Okay. So we know that we know that we have different web browsers, right? So major web browsers here are Chrome, Opera, Mozilla, Microsoft Edge, Apple Safari. All these are major browsers, major web applications. That trusted web application, Then of course the App Store. We just explained App Store now. We can be able to get some apps and install. We can get some browser and install from App Store. Then the HashBase and HashBase shared on signature. So we talk about HashBase now. So HashBase is all about the integrity of the document or whatever you're using. Like we talk about you trying to like I explained about now, that you trying to send a file to your boss, that somebody can, intercept it or along the way, like in minding attack, gets into the file, change whether the content, and stuff like. So one way you can verify the integrity of that document to perform an hash. So when your document is leaving you hash it, and when the document gets to your destination, the recipient, what happened? The recipient will check it with the same hash key, check it and see. So if the hash if the hash have changed, if the hash are the same, which means it's not be tampered with. We're going to look at all those ones practically in us. So untrusted sources like hardware, bundle software, potentially unwanted applications. Now we know what hardware is. We know is an hardware. We know is what an hardware. We know is a virus, right? Good. So then of course when I'm talking about potentially unwanted application, a lot of people don't know that when you're installing an application attached to the system, you can install application that you don't want. It happens a lot. Take for instance, now you install Acrobat Reader. In that Acrobat Reader, it's possible that you can install a program can be installed in your system that you don't want. Those kind of applications that are installed, they are called unwanted applications. So most of these applications, they contain malicious codes. They just be running on the background, And some of those codes, they have what called backdoors. So backdoors, it's just a medium through which a third party can gain access to your system without you knowing. That is called backdoors. So to get access to your system, they can do what called C2C, command and control. So command and control means that while your system is working, somebody's already have access to your system remotely. And from there, they can control what's happening in the system. They can do data filtration, change settings. They can even do privilege escalate their privilege on the system. So let's look at browser extensions and plugins. So now we want to talk about browser extensions. So extensions are just scripts actually, they're just scripts that are built on a web page. So what they do, they have an API, API that able to that you can use to modify the functionality of that browser. So they are just scripts, script that has an API. So you implement it, they can be used to implement, make modification and stuff like that, right? Like we have here, see, extension script that use the browser application programming, that's API. They use the browser API to implement new or modified functionality. So that's what they're just meant for. So it's just to improve, the browser, how the browser working, right? So API. Now, what are plugins? So plugins are just additional way of having a third-party application work on your system, right? Executable to execute something on your system. They are called plugins, right? So let's see plugins now. Executable designed to handle a specific type of object embedded on the web page. So those are objects that you do plugins, for instance now, right? For instance now, I have a plugin running in my browser. Right? Is a different kind of application that are embedded on the website. So when I need to use it, the plugin, I just go and click on the plugins and just open. right? Okay. Browser settings. So browser settings are also very essential too. Do you know you can gain access to, you can see, that's why it's not good for you to be able to have somebody have access to your system. Because why? Each time you go to your the internet, right? Each time you go to the internet, you know, everything you do, they are stored in your browser. Everything you do, they are stored on your browser. So don't forget the browser has what called cache. So everything you do are stored in the browser cache. Everything you do are stored there. Now, what you also ought to know is that the password that you enter, each website you visit and you enter a password, maybe you try to go to a bank, you log in, your password, every secure site you go to that has a username and a password. Those passwords, they are stored in the browser, but you don't know. So the browser has a password manager that has all the password in. Let me give you for instance now. Let's take a look at this now. Let's take a look of this now. Now this is Google Chrome, right? So let's take a look at this. So what we have now, we go to settings all the way down. This is settings. Watch now. See what do you see? Password manager is there. Settings. See in this place now. See Google password manager. See, so if I open it now, I can see every password are here. Every password I'm not going to show you all the login sites, all the password now. If you open it now, for instance, DocuSign, if I put my password there, I will see this is my Windows password, right? This is my hello password. If I put it here now, I'm going to see that password. Let's try it and see. Take a look now. For security reasons, I don't want to do that because some of these passwords, they are my personal systems and I don't want to expose any of my password data, right? So I'm not going to do this, right? But when I put the password this or the hello, you're going to show me the exact password for this. You're going to show me the exact password for this, right? So I don't do that because most of this password, if I do it now, you're going to see my password and somebody can use it because this is a public training I'm doing now. So that is just what I'm saying. So your password can be seen in all these places, right? Somebody can come there, yeah, it's asking for password. The password here is asking for the password Windows password is asking me for. That the password to log into this. You can see Sambemi is asking Windows. So the password to log to this system, that's what it's asking me for. Right? Good. So the moment you put the password to log to the system, it should just show you all these passwords. Very important. Show you. Right? So that's what I'm trying to tell you. So it's very important for us to understand these things. Right? Very important. Okay, so secure connection and valid certificates. So we also have to understand that there's what called certificates. So certificates infrastructure, is one of the most critical security features in cybersecurity, right? Now, one of the way you ensure an application on the internet, once application, most of the times is websites, the websites, you use website as usual. So most websites on the internet, right, you have to secure them through the certificate services. So just like what certificate? Certificate is all about, proving the rights that you're the owner of that document or that file. It's authentifying you that the real owner, that the genuine owner, you are being authentified, like a verification purpose. So that is certificate. So every website on the internet, they have to get a certificate. So it's a proof that website is genuine. It's not a fake website. It's secured. That is a proof. Right? Good. So everything that transfers over the internet, every website that goes in, they must be what? Have a valid certificate. Right? And how do you know when a website is not secured? You will know, right? Because in most cases, when you see this local here, it tells this website is a secured website. See this local you see here now, right? This is what is secured local, and you can see now settings is actually secured, right? You could tell you now secured. You see secured website. So this is a secure website now. So the padlock you see there, it shows that this website is actually secured, right? So it's important for us to understand that all those things. So one of the ways we do that is through what called transfer layer security and digital signature. So we are not going to explain so much here, right? So much now, because if we go deep, we will dive into cyber security. These are A+ class, so we just explain some of the key concepts there. So now let's look at trusted root certificate updates, the Windows updates. So Windows updates, keep your system, your Windows updated, right? Then let's look at what we call separate per browser stores. Now, when we say separate per browser stores, what we are talking about, we're talking about a browser that has a web browser that you can open to several websites. So what it means is that each time you go to a website, your data, they are separated. Even though you're using the same web browser, you could visit different applications, right? Different websites on the browser. We are saying that those browsers, there are also those data there on each of the browsers that are stored separately. So that's what separate per browser store means. So they have a separate store where each information on the browser is there. So whatever information you have on one browser, on one website, it's going to be different from information you have. If, for instance, now I visit this website, I put my information there. I move on that same browser, I move to another website, I put my information there. Those data they are stored differently. That's what I'm saying. So browsing privacy, cookies, and on like that. Browsing privacy, cookies, pop-ups. Of course, you see pop-ups. You can be able to go to security, your private privacy, and look at all those things. So let's take a look at cache and stuff like that. Incognito modes. So at times this mode, incognito mode, is a private mode. If you are trying to do some stuff online, right, and you want to ensure that those passwords they are not stored in the cache. You cannot get in the cache because incognito mode is a private mode. They are not stored in browser cache. Right? Okay. So incognito mode means that whatever you do on the internet is not be stored in your cache. It's a private mode. It's not stored. That is incognito mode. So let's take a look now. Let's go to the browser once more again. So here we are. This is the browser now, right? Okay. So here we are now. We are in the browser here now, right? So we're in the browser here. We're going to look at something now. Okay, privacy. So let's take a look at privacy. Let's go back to settings. Go to settings. This is where we are. So settings. Okay. So take a look. Privacy and security. Here we are. So here now, data browsing, data third-party cookie security settings and stuff like that. Right. Third-party cookies are, of course, it's just well, it's not for us to explain about that. Just want to show you some few things. So I'm going to look at cache. Okay, this is cache now. So this is cache now, right? So when we talk about cache, everything you do on a website, they're stored. Every website you visit, they're stored on this system, on this web browser, they're stored there. So you can clear them. Why do you have to clear them? Because you don't want somebody to go there and see your personal information. Right, all your password history, so many things you do, download, so many things you do that store in the cache. So you can always delete your cache so that your Windows, your browser can refresh. Okay. Now, incognito mode, I can click on this star again and look for incognito mode. So look at it. So here now, if I open incognito mode, it's going to be a privacy mode. See this one. So you see, whatever I do here now, same browser will not be stored in your cache. They're not stored there. So whatever I do here is just secure. So most of the times, if you are using somebody's system, maybe you want to log into someone's system, right? Never you log in normal. What am I saying? Very easy. A lot of people don't know this, right? At times, the way people have access to our information, right, is because of ignorance and carelessness. That's why people have access to our personal information. Now, when you use a desktop system, right, what do you do? And you go to the internet and you sign into a secure website, like the bank, and you make some transaction there. Right? Apparently, you go to a marketplace where you can buy stuff online, and you buy stuff. Marketplace, for instance, the popular one is what popular marketplace we can talk about right now is what so many popular ones, right? So those e-commerce websites, just name one of them. Amazon, for instance, you go to Amazon and you shop in Amazon, you pay money. Don't forget that when you shop Amazon, your details are there. Your credit card, your ATM card, whatever you put there, the numbers, everything are there. So when you leave, when you sign out, what you don't know is that the web browser have stored your information. I just showed you now in a previous video. I've stored the information, right, in the password manager. I've stored it there. So when you leave, right, the owner of that desktop can equally just go there, right, easily just go there, see, say password now, see, and open it and see your password and your card number. See, that's why we have to be very careful, right? So you see your password number and open it. So in that website, if you visit, they will see the account number, you use the password, and even your credit, they'll see everything there. So you're in trouble. So they can even order things from you. You will not know. They will order everything there, and you show that it's you that ordered it. So we have to be careful, right? So using incognito mode is very important. So each time you want to use someone's desktop to buy something, please do that. Or if you do that, if you use someone's desktop to buy, go and clear the cache. Go and clear the cache, clear the password, clear everything. Clear everything. So that's the way you make yourself more secure, right? Okay, excellent. Okay, so let's move on. So we just explained those ones now. Okay, so we're going to look at how we can troubleshoot security in here. How to troubleshoot security in workstation. So security issues, right? Let's see. Viruses, boot sector virus, trojans, worm, fileless malware. All these are vectors, malware vectors, right? So vectors means that is a tool that is a medium through which they used to get you. It's called a vector. So the medium which you attack is called a vector, right? So all these are malware vector, right? So where they can get you through viruses, boot sector viruses, right? Trojan horse. So Trojan horse, if you watch that movie, just something that looks very enticing, very nice, very juicy, it looks nice, you look like a gift, and you are attracted to it. They are called Trojan. So when you go there and download those applications to your system, whatever it is, you click on it, whatever it is, you've actually invited a third party to your system without you knowing. So not just you using that system, someone else also using that system with you. That's what it means, right? Then worms. So we know worms are more dangerous than virus, because a worm gets your system, they spread rapidly to the whole network everywhere. So worms are the most dangerous. A worm can bring an entire company down. So we have to be very careful, right? So all these are forms of. I talked about payloads earlier, right? So I talked about payloads earlier. Payloads. So when I was talking about backdoors, right? When I talk about command and control, C and C, command and control. So all these are, that's why stick with our channel. You're going to learn so much, right? You're going to learn so much from us. We're going to give you so many things about, especially when we go to cyber security. So all these things you see, backdoors, spyware, keylogger, rootkits, all these are so important. You need to understand malware payloads, right? So what are payloads? I said payloads are just scripts that are written. They're written like a code. Then they embed them as a program. So they write scripts, then they make it executable like a program, just like you're running an application. That's how payloads are. So inside there are code written. Series of code have been written, commands have been written for execution. Then you put them inside a package. So when you click on them, you execute it. This just install on the system. Alright? So now when you install a payload on the system, they do so many things. Number one, you can create a backdoors. So what are backdoors? I explain it now. So backdoor means that it's called remote access trojan. So somebody and boot. So somebody from Abuke, from Ghana, right, is working on somebody's system in Canada. How is it done? It's through payloads. So a payloads have been installed in the system. So that means there's a backdoor. Without you don't know. So while you are working here, in Ghana, while you're working in Canada, somebody in Ghana is working with you in your system. So whatever you are doing, what they do, they are extracting it to their system in Ghana. They are extracting it. It's called. These are what we're talking about. So they have issue. They have the issue called command and control. You now have access. You can be commanding your system in Canada from Ghana. It's called command and control, right? Spyware and keylogger. So keylogger is just another way. So if it's power and the keylogger is running your system, spyware means that someone just install a spyware on the system. They're spying on you what you're doing. That was spyware. They're spying what you're doing, see all your files, everything you're doing, and seeing it. Keyloggers and spyware, they're similar because why? Keyloggers, they're typing the keyboard, they're typing your keys. Maybe you're putting your password, for instance, and keylogger is there. Each letter you type gets towards the attacker. So if you type P, for instance, they get it. A, so they see your password. So you wonder at times, why is it that people complain that they are being hacked? These are so many ways people get to hack, and they're being used. They use the identity to complete malicious act and stuff like that. And so rootkits also. So rootkit could be you could escalate. You could escalate rootkit to be programs, the programs, the core programs that run on your system. You can also say they are the OS, like somebody have installed malicious code on the OS operating system. So the system, the booting files of the system, they're not working very well. All those are rootkits. So don't add to the root of the application. It could be a hardware, whatever. But it's the core thing that make that application to function. The core thing, the core ingredients that makes it to function. Someone have access to them. They've polluted it, by putting the malicious code inside. So ransomware and crypto miners, right? So ransomware and crypto miners. So we talk about crypto miners, right? Is when somebody, hijack your computer and generate your cryptocurrency. So they hijack your computer, and from there they can get your cryptocurrency. We call them crypto miners. So ransomware, someone along the line, they have access to your desktop, your computer, you lock it computer, you can't use it anywhere. So and they are asking you to come and pay some ransom, or to do some sort of things for them, be able to gain access back to that system. That is ransomware. So some systems of, some of the systems, troubleshoot desktop systems, 40 startup, general performance symptoms, like when system is 40, slow startup, general performance, remote access network, all these are ways of troubleshooting systems, right? So when you have a slow startup or general performance, what do you do? Well, most of the time you have to check the task manager, check the memory usage, is it slow, check the processor usage, check all those things. So they will tell you if you need to upgrade the memory, or if somebody is using your system, So one the way you know that your system is being used by somebody else is to go to what? Is to go to your task manager and go and look at how your system usage. So if your memory is being overused, your processor is overused, and you do less things on the system, so that shows that what a malicious code is actually running your system. Someone is having access to that system. They are using it with you, right? So we also have the application crashes and service problems, right? So you must always install updates, always update your system, always keep your system up to date. Very, very important, right? Okay. 5 system errors and anomalies. Anomalies are, unwanted behavior. When your system started misbehaving, giving funny errors, displaying unwanted unwanted bugs on your system, telling you funny things. These are some of the files too. These are some of the malware problem you have in the system. You have malware is there, virus problem, all those things. So you must be able to have antivirus on your system. Very important. Your firewall must be enabled. I talked about Windows Update earlier. Windows Update 2 must be your Windows must be up to date. So we also have false alert too. False alert without antivirus protection. So in cybersecurity, there's what we call false positive in fire security. So we have false positive, right? So we also have false positive. So false positive in cybersecurity, is when a legit program is displayed as a problem, as a threat, giving alert to a legit program. So for instance now, you have a software that was installed for you. Maybe you want to do some auditing, and you call somebody, to come and install the software for you so I can use for auditing. And when you install the software, it's legit, right? Instantly, you want to start alerting you about that software that you should remove it. So those are called false positive, because why? It's a legit software. But mind you, on the server side, before you install an application on the system, you must verify, do your findings about application. Earlier, I'll talk about software testing, code testing. You must be able to code and test it. If that server has passed those stages of software testing, code signing, it could have been signed and verified. All right? Okay. So same way to the browser symptoms, you can troubleshoot the browser systems. The browser has their own way. I already told you about this, right? So when you see not secured, like the key, that website is a risky website. Each time you go to the website and see not secure, don't go to that. Don't do much there. Don't copy files there. Do not put necessary information on that website. Whenever you see a site that is not secure, don't do anything there. Don't put anything there. Don't copy anything from that place. If you do that, you put your system, your organization at risk. Never you do that. Right? So the similar thing to certificate too can be revoked. Certificate can be revoked too. Similarly, right? Certificate can be revoked. How do you know when a certificate is revoked? So earlier we talked about certificate earlier, right? So let's go back again to the website. So let's see now. So, okay, so take a look now. Viewing secure stuff of this certificate. I want to see something. Okay, no, I just have to leave this page. I'm going to leave this page now. Okay, so here we are now, right? So here now, these are key, right? So if I view site information, here I can know if the site is secured or not. Connection is secured. Take a look. Now, certificate is valid. So here now I know that this certificate is valid. Right? If you want to see more information, you can go there and clearly learn more to tell you more about it. But if I go, so certificate is valid, more information will tell me more about it. So here now I can see detailed information here too about what this browser. So I know this site is secure, right? Yeah, I can also see, take a look now, valid period. See, this certificate is going to expire October. See? So now, it's after October 12th, right? And Google does not update or renew their certificates. That means this Google website becomes insecure. So whatever you do there, right, you do it at your risk. So that's what that means, right? Okay. So okay, excellent. So on and on. So best practice for malware removal: investigate and verify malware symptoms. Must investigate quarantine infected systems. Infected systems, of course, you only have to qualify whatever you feel. A file, documents, programs, whatever you see that you can quarantine them. Disable system restore in Windows. So what is system restore? Say you disable it. What is system restore? Okay. System restore the system at an earlier date where it was working very well. So when instead go back to the date that was working very well, all right? So now you have been told to disable them. You know, when best price for malware removal, when you want to remove a malware, why they say disable them? Now, if you are removing a malware and you didn't remove system restore, you didn't disable system restore, let me tell you what happened. If you remove the malware from the system, right? The system restore, I've already saved that malware. I've already saved it. So understand that. So if you go back again and maybe your OS is giving you some problem, you now do system restore to restore everything back to the way it was. The malware, everything is back. So that's why you have been told disable system restore. So always update your antivirus software. Always update it. Scan and remove techniques. Safe mode, pre-installation environment. Scanning and removal techniques so you can safe mode. You can use safe mode, pre-installation environment, schedule scans or schedule scan, enable system restore, create a restore point in Windows. So when you finish removing the malware, you can enable system restore and create a restore point. So the malware is gone now. Everything, you create system restore back. You create system restore so that when your OS, somewhere gets a malware again, you can remove it, by reinstalling the system restore. You just create restore it back. It will take out the malware. Then of course you must talk about it to your users, educate your user on all these things. All these things very important. Okay, so here now we best price for malware remover. You can go to online, go to Google, Microsoft Security Intelligence, go to Microsoft Security Intelligence. Then it tells you more, right? This is Windows Defender antivirus. This is Windows Defender built-in virus and threat protection. So here you can see quarantine remove, right? So this is the threat now. Look at it now. This is the threat, so you can go there and remove it to okay. So that is where we are. Build but system weak, aliases versus virus remover 2 and on like that. Okay, so infected system quarantine infected systems, of course. Prevent use of privileged accounts, isolate from production system, isolate scan remover, disable system restore. We've explained all these things. Malware remover tools and method, right? So antivirus one remover tool, recovery method, OS installation. So antivirus and anti-malware always have to have it there. Recovery modes, yes. So recovery mode is one way to remove the malware from the system. So you recover the system back, from the very beginning. So you have malware remover by antivirus tools. So all these things now is method of removing malware. So the OS reinstallation that we talked about earlier. So you can install the OS and it's going to take you the malware, right? Okay. So with this now we've come to the end of this lesson. So thank you very much for staying with us. We're going to see you in the next lessons. That should be lesson 18.